And you are watching My Report Affairs, a reliable maritime program bringing you closer to the maritime industry. I will be introducing my guest shortly. Please.
Hello, viewers. My name is Ms. Priscilla Afi Kokoroko, and I'm the General Manager of Maritime Courier and Publications. Now, Maritime Courier and Publication is a media mouthpiece in the maritime industry. Now, we seek to bring you news and trending happening in the ports and harbors of our country. We promise to bring you nothing but the best. Therefore, we ask that you continue to support us and then embrace us into your domain. You can go onto our social media handles, Maritime Courier Facebook, Maritime Courier Instagram, and Maritime Courier YouTube to access all news that has gone on in our maritime world, the ports and the harbors. We promise to bring you nothing but the best. Thank you.
My guest today is a very significant personality in the maritime industry. He is the current president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders Association, and he is in the person of Mr. Akrong, who will be delving deeper into the operations of his association and major issues surrounding the maritime industry. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us as well. My viewers and I want to know what GIFF is about.
So basically, the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders is an umbrella body for freight forwarders. You want to call them clearing agents. I think the term is used, either way. So we're talking about the same thing.
Yes.
So it's an umbrella body for freight forwarders in Ghana. Okay, so it used to be the National Association of Customs House Agents. So it was a loosely knit, association until, we found, higher grounds, that there's more to it than just that, the clearing agency bit. And so basically, that is when the institute was formed. And then we got related to the international body, which is FIATA, is the International Association of Freight Forwarding, associations. So in Ghana, this is what it is. I mean, we just had our 7th district, okay, which is Paga. So for now, the association is based in Takoradi Airport, where the ports are.
Yeah.
Takoradi Airport, Lubo, Border, Flao, Sunyani, which covers all those entry points in the, in the Bono area. And then, like I said, we've just had Paga. Tema is the biggest district. And KIA, the airport, is also another district. So these 7 districts come together to form, the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. And the word institute in there, of course, denotes that we actually have an institute, we have a school.
Okay.
Because education is one of the prime factors that, the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders looks at. So basically, so much so for the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, and this is who we are.
So it's an eye-opener. There are people who didn't know there was a school.
Of course there is.
Yeah, so then I would like to know what qualifies one to be a freight forwarder. What qualification must one have?
So there are 2 things. If you look at the Ghanaian situation, the law itself, basically nothing extraordinary qualifies you to be a freight forwarder. So when we say a freight forwarder, let me break this down. What we know in Ghana mostly is the customs brokerage part,
Yes.
which is what we call the clearing agent. Okay, they go in between the exporters and the importers, customs. That is what we know.
Yes.
Okay, but the freight forwarder is more. He's basically an architect of transport. And so it's a whole chain. If you look at the supply chain, the involvement in the supply chain, from suppliers to the manufacturer to wholesalers and distributors, to the consumers, to the retailers and consumers. That is the whole chain, and that is the basic supply chain. Now, in between all these people, somebody operates doing some kind of distribution, warehousing, transporting, all of those things, all those logistics things are what the freight forwarder is. And he plans all of this, acting as a 3PL, third-party logistics, for all of these players in the supply chain. Okay, so it's a lot more, way more than just that. So when I say somebody qualifies for it, it could be any of these people, okay, who goes into this kind of business. Okay, so it's a huge thing.
So is your institute open to just anybody?
Oh, it is open to anybody at all. I think we'll register you before you leave, so because we want you to get to no. So it's basically open. You should have. I mean, if you've come just out of school from the secondary school or anything, you can come in. We have 3 tiers. Okay, so we have the certificate, which is just for newcomers, those who have come in, and then we have the diploma. Okay. Now, the diploma is for those who are actually in the industry already, or maybe you've gone to the polytechnic, to the university, you can still come in and then do the special. It's a 14-module, training. It doesn't take more than a year, and trust me, it is really solid, because we treat everything from logistics, insurance, maritime law. We're doing everything. And then after that, we also have then from there you can do the higher national diploma. We have some what we call MOUs with universities like the University of Cape Coast. So once after from the diploma, you could move into the supply chain, in UCC, and go to maybe level 200 straight away, because of the MOU we have, and they have seen what we do here, so it's quite solid. If you've done the HND, then you can move to level 300 straight away. Yes, so
that's amazing.
Yes, it is.
There's an issue that bothering me. Normally, I see some, if I use the word, clearing agents who operate not in an office setting like we see, maybe in their cars. Some are even relaxing under trees, but then they render the same service as other freight forwarders. Do they also, if I can say, qualify to be called faithful?
So you say seemingly they render the same service.
Yes.
But be careful though. Okay. The thing is that you should be, and of course I'm going to use this medium to say that, be mindful of who you are dealing with and what they do. Because anybody could walk up to you and tell you that, there are people walking in military uniforms and tell you I'm a soldier.
Yes.
Is he a soldier really? That's another matter.
Yes.
Okay, so what you see is not what you get, so be mindful. Now, I'll tell you this though, because in the law, in the Ghanaian law, and particularly in the customs law, which is the Act 891 of 2015, in section 43, it specifically tells you who can do the business of customs. Okay, it specifically tells you. I can break it down for you. So basically, you have to be a Ghanaian. Okay, you have to be more than 18 years of age. You or the company you're working for should have properly been licensed, registered in Ghana, and you should have been licensed by customs to do customs business. Okay? Now, the license doesn't come, the law would make sure that you or anyone who works for you in that company should have a customs proficiency certificate. So first of all, you should have been properly certified by customs, that is going through their training, and then you are certified. And then once you are certified, that company, the individual, be the MD or anybody who is employed in that company with that certificate, then that company can apply to the customs commissioner for a license to operate. Okay, so without that license, you cannot do customs business in Ghana. Okay, and so you would have to make sure, as anybody, and this goes out since you are in the media, of course, anybody who listens to me will know that before you deal with anybody, please do some due diligence. Don't go under the tree and hand your documents, your precious documents, because they have legal implications. Once you hand your documents to this person, you've given him free range to do anything he wants, or you hand over money to this person. Okay, make sure. So with the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, and I say this for the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, we have offices in every one of these districts that I mentioned to you earlier. Okay, we have administrations there, the way our structure is. I am the national president, but every single district has a district chairman. There's a full administration there. You can walk into any of our offices and inquire about anybody you want to do business with. And then make sure that this person is in good standing, is a properly qualified, freight forwarder, and he can do your business for you. So that is the advice I can give.
Okay, and that brings us to the issue. How long have you been the president?
Okay, so the way our constitution runs, you can only run for 2 terms. Okay, so it's a 2-year term. So I'm in my 4th year now. So. Wow. Fortunately for me, I'm going to walk out at the end of the year, so which is a good thing for me. So that is how our constitution is. I've been, for the last 3 years, so I'm in my last year now. Okay, all right. So, but before then, I was a district chairman in Tema. I became district chairman in Tema, I think in 2013. I also became the national executive secretary for a while. I quit, and then I ran for the presidency. But all that said, I am also a freight forwarder. Okay. So I have my own company, of course, because it's an association of companies. Yes.
That's amazing. What's your general overview about the freight forwarding industry?
Brilliant. It's a wonder. If you study what supply chains look like, basically, then you know that we're like the glue that brings everything together. Okay, leading into a question, because I've been asked severally, what do freight forwarders, even bring to the economy?
Yes.
Trust me, international trade, basically would not happen without freight forwarders. We're like the glue. If you look at the supply chain, as I explained to you earlier, you have suppliers supplying to a supplier, now supplier to first, second tier suppliers, then they move to the manufacturer, from the manufacturer to retailers, from wholesalers, distributors, retailers. But if you look at this whole chain, there is always a certain means of what transport that has to go. There's always a certain means of storage, warehouses. Yeah? Okay. Customs documentation. We're doing international trade. I'm sitting in Ghana. You've never been to Kazakhstan. But if you ordered something from Kazakhstan today, somehow you expect the stuff to get to you, to your doorstep. Now, how does it come? It's going to go across countries. If it's coming by air or by sea or by rail, there are customs, in all of these jurisdictions. How do you go through them? Okay, I would have to use my connections, my international connections out there to my fellow freight forwarders to make sure all that documentation is done, how your freight is going to be paid, how we're going to collaborate with insurance companies to be able to get the stuff finally to your doorstep. It will look so easy because it gets there, but then if you look at the nuances, even in Ghana, if I have to do some clearing for you, it will amaze you. For a particular product, let's say maybe frozen chicken, if I tell you how many regulatory agencies I have to deal with before I deliver that one container of maybe frozen chicken to you, it will amaze you.
It's tedious.
So it's very tedious. So if you don't have the people who have the know-how, understanding customs, laws, and which are ever changing. There are new laws. How are you going to keep up? You understand? So it's a lot that we bring to the table. Yeah.
Okay. So in connection to the laws, recently we were hit with the excise duty amendments, and it caused a big uproar in the maritime world. They wanted to know your view about these taxes that keep popping up.
Nobody likes taxes. That's my answer to it. Nobody likes it. Government has its own reasons why they would bring in new taxes, okay? So it always has its effects. And sometimes you realize there's some taxes that have, the effect of it. At the end of the day, some of them are pro, I don't know what to use, but if you look at it, it's tough I understand the government's position. I think when we're going for this IMF bailout, of course, certain parameters had to be set for us, and then we had to go through them. So okay, it is done. We can basically look at the the law on the levy, the toll tax.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, or this is Momo, the levy that was the e-levy thing. Yeah. Of course, at some point, then people will find a way around and say, no, because we don't want to. Okay. All right. So I'm saying that nobody says, no, you can't develop a country without taxes. But again, when it gets to a certain point, then they become a nuisance, and some of them might not have the effect that you desire. Remember that, a very big guy said something that, I don't want to mention his name. He says, what? Angels don't do business. You understand?
Yeah.
You find stuff on the market. If you go to our ports now, you realize that the ports are quite dry. Throughput is going low because of a lot of things that have happened to this point, post-COVID. But when you go to the market, you find a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
And then you begin to ask yourself questions. Where are these things coming from if they're not coming through the port? And if we are not making all that money from taxes? There is a basic problem which we need to look at, and make sure it's sorted. As for taxes, I can't say I'm against or for it, but nobody likes it. Okay? But because of course then it means you're going to be pinched a little bit more. You have to pay more.
Yes.
But we need the taxes to build the economy as well.
Exactly.
But we have to look at it. I think maybe after the IMF thing and then, things get better, we should weigh the situation and see how effective the tax was, whether it was, it was good for us, or we'll see the benefits, and then maybe that should affect policy going forward.
It was in the news recently. GPHA released a statement saying that traffic at our ports have really dropped since mid last year. So I wanted to know your view on what causes this drop in traffic.
See, there are historical antecedents to all of it, so we can't just look at the immediate things. Just like we talked about the taxes and something, it started from somewhere.
Exactly.
Okay? All right. If we go back to just like COVID, okay? COVID created a whole lot of issues. We have, there's a certain container rotation. When boxes come, we don't do a lot of exports. We do more imports. We are more import-oriented than export-oriented. So there are a lot of, you see these containers that bring the goods, okay? Now, so most of them are coming this way to our end. Now, when they come, the whole idea is that they go in a rotation. When they come, let's say we'll fill it with goods and then they go back. Okay. Now, just around the COVID, so a lot of containers coming, but they wouldn't go as fast from here because we don't do a lot of exports from here. So a lot of the containers stay here for a long time. And then comes COVID, and then a lot of these containers that were here were not going back. There's no business happening, okay? And so just around that time, the whole world is in demand of these containers. So it's a supply and demand issue. So now you can't find the containers. Let's say you're in a queue. And then you say, look, supply and demand, of course, now is going to, yeah? And so at some point, there are fewer containers. There are a lot of people chasing fewer containers, which will kick up the freight rates, okay? So immediately after the COVID, there were serious freight hikes. Something of, say, $5,000 for the freight for a 40-footer container, maybe it's coming to West Africa, now shoots up to about 15,000. And it's happened around the world. So this is happening. As time goes on, it started reducing because then the COVID, post-COVID, now the containers started going back. Okay, that makes a case for a reduction in the freight. But then again, what else? Then there came the issue of benchmark values. That I'm sure if you know about that, the benchmark values that were, that policy was, reversed. So the reversal of the policy also led to what? Traders not going to, because suddenly there was a hike in the tax, the duties that they were paying, okay? And so that was another matter. And then comes the inflationary issues that also shot up the exchange rates. And so all of those things, come together. And then suddenly we also introduce new taxes, okay? There are too many regulatory agencies all housed up in the port. Everybody has been weaned off the national the national coffers, so they have to generate internally. They have these internally generated funds that they have to get. So everybody is hanging on to the port. And it's all stressing out the trader. It's not good for business, okay? And so the cost of doing business in our port gets very high. I mean, it's just a natural thing. The trader wouldn't want to come. If you go across West Africa, you've got Togo here on this side, you've got Abidjan on this side. They all have ports. So if you go here and realize that the rates there are quite low, I'll give you an example of Togo. They have these huge warehouses. It's supposed to be a free port. Not that they don't pay duty, but then once goods arrive, they cannot stuff all these goods and put them in a port. Remember, our flour is just 4 hours away from here. So if he has 2 containers and puts them in a warehouse, dumps the stuff in a warehouse, and decides that this week I want to go and bring 10, he goes to bring 10 and just pays duty for the 10 and bring it. But again, you have to ask him, is he bringing all these 10 pieces through the border so he pay duty, or is he also channeling some of them through some other channels where they don't have to pay? It's a whole lot of things we need to consider, and all of these things, in concept, is what is bringing throughput very low to our ports.
Okay, viewers, if you're watching, you just joined us. We've been talking to Mr. Edward Akrong, the president, Ghana Institute of Faith Forwarders Association. We'll be going for a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, viewers. We've been talking to Mr. Edward Akrong, the president of the Ghana Institute of Faith Forwarders Association. He's been helping us delve deep into issues making headlines in the world of the maritime. Mr. Edward,
Yes.
I would believe demurrage is a scarecrow in the industry. I wanted you to tell the viewers more about it and whether it should be encouraged.
Encourage? No. Demurrage is a bad thing. It's a demon. Okay, so what is demurrage anyway, basically? There's a long story behind it coming to the shipping industry, but I'll break it down for you. When we talk about demurrage means that you brought in your container and there's a certain number of days that you are allowed to use that container as your warehouse, because it's not your personal property, it belongs to the shipping line. And so then you have to take your stuff out of that container before that time elapses. If you do not take it out of the container before that time elapses, then there's a certain charge that comes to you. It's like holding up the ship's equipment for a while, so then they begin to charge you. That is what is demurrage, okay, in basic terms, yeah. The noise that we make about it, and the reason why, first of all, so we do not want that to happen. You want to advise your client in time, and the systems we have in place right now could always let you do that. You can pay duties even before your goods arrive now on the ICOMS system. So that allows you to have time to take out your stuff, do all the permits that you require to get your goods out. So you can do all those things, so that the 7-day break, which is the normal break that is given, by the shipping lines to everybody, should elapse. Before that elapses, you can get your stuff out, so you do not go into demurrage. But what the noise that we make about it, and the reason why we hate this, is that I'm saying everything has to be done properly. There are rules, there are regulations, it has to be done properly. If you say 7 days, when you come into the Ghanaian law, a working day means a day that is not a holiday or a weekend. Okay? So if, let's say, a vessel brought in my container on Friday. First of all, you cannot count the day on which you arrive, because you are now going to start the stevedoring to make sure you offload the container, everything from the ship. Okay? So I have no access to the container, so you cannot count it. Okay? So you can't count the Saturday because the shipping line itself is not working on the Saturday. Again, what is the proof that you have even finished offloading the whole container? So that if I have 10 containers, all the 10 containers are there ready for me to go and pick up. Okay? So this is our beef with it. Follow the rules and do the right thing. When it gets in on Friday, please do not start counting the days from Friday, Saturday and Sunday when you are not working. So then by Monday, then you come to say that, oh, you've already spent 3 days out of the 7 that you have. You can agree with me that there's no fairness there. Okay, and even in our laws do not allow that. But what happens? The shipping lines get here and then decide to start counting. Okay, which goes against the importer, because no matter what you've done, you've paid your duty, you've done all. But like I said earlier, there are certain things other things that you have to do. Some of them are permits that you need to acquire. And then sometimes for these permits, like I said in the frozen containers, those boxes, the containers will have to arrive first. Because maybe you need a sample from the container to take to the Standards Authority or Food and Drugs Authority, EPA, to acquire those permits. Now that would take time, okay? Because you have these regulatory, you don't expect them to work in a minute. They're going to do tests and stuff, right? So if you give the right required time, then you know that we're not going to have that many issues, okay? But this is the reason why we make a lot of noise about it. But all said and done, demurrage is a very bad thing. You don't want to get into it because they add costs. That is what we don't want.
Recently in the 2023 budget, it was read that government wants to introduce a self-clearing for individuals. Do you think it's on the right path?
Big mistake. Big mistake, I think. And that touched the wrong nerve, The thing is, look, even if you go down to the basic economics, you see, the world over, everybody, all these huge companies you see, everybody is concentrating on what? Their core competencies. If I could speak my trade, then I'll tell you, you're a journalist, trust me, I would never want to be in your seat, what you're doing right now, because for me, I say that's difficult. Okay? I don't want to be there. I mean, if I'm a lawyer, it doesn't mean because I've done all the law in the world, I can repair my car. Or I'm a professor, so I say I can sew my clothes. No. This is what we are trained to do. And trust me, it is not a joke. So first of all, it makes it look like, it's anything anybody can just walk in and pick up their stuff and go. No. Basic things like even finding out what, the harmonized system code for a particular item, which every item in the world has. It's not just, these are things that you have to be trained for. And you work at it. Even the international connections that have been created for me to bring goods from somewhere to make sure it arrives at your doorstep. Okay? These are not connections that are nurtured in a day and say, because of that, I can just do it. So what? You're going to have everybody walk into a port, which is a security area, and say that everybody says, I'm coming to clear my goods. How are you going to train them? And first of all, look at the law. Are you going to certify them before you license them? Okay? Which means you have to train them. You're going to train all the traders in Ghana. Anybody who wants to report. If I'm not well, of course I can I think I have a headache, so I go to the pharmacy and buy, paracetamol. Okay? But let me have a fracture. And I think I can sit down and then, treat my own fracture and tie it up and operate on myself. That is up to you. You understand? So all we can tell government is it's a very bad idea. And do not underestimate what we do. I've just told you how we bring the whole supply chain as a glue. We act as a glue to bring them together. Trust me, if you do not have the know-how to even clear this one container, all these agents that you have to, first of all, if you have no idea about the laws, which are ever changing every single day, how are you going to keep up? Is it customs who's going to now set up a certain desk and tell you that, today this one has changed, today these taxes are new? So, no, but this is my business, so I tend to find out every day. And then make sure that the system runs. So you don't come and put your stuff down and run into demurrage charges. You understand? Making sure that costs these are the contributions we bring to the economy. Because at the end of the day, if cost is high, the trader is not for a Christmas. He's going to put all those charges on the goods that we buy on the market, and it's going to affect you and I because we go to the same market. And so it's not as easy as that. I had some top economists come that, oh, this has been long in coming, and then I saw some of the reasons, and it broke my heart. There again, that is why I understood it, that you could be a professor, but it doesn't know you know how to fix cars. You understand? I've seen top economists say that, oh, at least that way we can get our taxes, because all these individuals who will come to the port to clear that will now pay their tax, before coming, they'll have a tax clearance certificate. I said, oh my God, this one is 1932 matter. You understand? It's dead and buried. Because on every single declaration that you see, it used to be that before you come to clear anything, you have to go to the IRS at the time, go and pay a certain tax. So this is how much, so I'm going to pay some tax. And then they'll have to give you the tax clearance certificate before you come in. Now, if you look at that whole bureaucracy, the time spent, the cost of every single individual going to the IRS for that tax clearance, and then we've looked at it and the government says that, no, look, for everything you bring into this country, the moment you do a declaration, we'll put a 1% IRS fee there for you. It avoids us. So it's on your file. You have these documents, so you know that you have paid 1%. If you bring in a car, whatever the value of the car is, you pay 1%. If you bring in a bicycle, you pay 1%. If you bring in one tie, 1%. So you have that on your file. Anytime you want to go and file your taxes, you go, I have all these declarations, I've paid 1%, 1%. These are all taxes that I have paid. Then the government can use it too. But isn't it an easier way of collecting that tax for the government rather than going through all the bureaucracy? Of course, then I realized that these economists do not know that even on the declaration that we do, that 1% tax is there. You understand? If you don't know anybody's business, don't say it's cheap. I know definitely I cannot make my own clothes, although I love clothes, yeah.
Okay. Recently we heard the Abidjan-Lagos highway is being constructed, which will pass through Ghana. I wanted to know the significance, but how valuable it will be for the maritime industry.
Huge significance, yeah. Look, you've heard about the AFTA,
Yes.
African Continental Free Trade Area. Look, without transport, trade is basically useless. There's nothing you can do. Yeah, recently I was in Congo. From here to Congo, if you look at the map itself, really if I was flying to Congo, it should maybe take me about 45 minutes or 1 hour to get to Congo DR. If you look at it, in the face of it. But to go to Congo, we had to leave here, go to Togo, sit down, just about 50 minutes flight to Togo, sit down for about 2 hours, and then fly about 2 hours or so, 2.5 hours to Congo. Now, if you want to trade, let's say you've got business here, and then somebody in Congo, asks you that, supply me maybe 20 containers of this particular product you have every month. Do you know what's going to happen? We don't have any vessels that go along the west coast. So these same vessels that come down from Europe will have to take these containers, move them up somewhere in Spain, maybe Algeciras or something, and then find another vessel that is coming down to Congo. Do you know how long that is going to take? For a place that should take you 1 hour, as in a flight, you understand? So if you have a vessel, maybe a couple of days, it should be there. So transportation is key when it comes to international trade. So can you imagine running through from Abidjan all the way to Lagos? Okay, first of all, the speed of transport, carrying goods across, and then avoiding all these barriers where you go and stop at a Flao, maybe stay 1 day, you go to Benin, stay another 2 days, with all the nuances, with customs and all that. That would ease, travel, and it would, so it has a huge significance on trade in West Africa, if that should happen. And we hope so.
Okay. So have a huge on the African market.
Mm.
It is very, very amazing.
Yeah.
Viewers, we've been talking to Mr. Edward Akrong. Thank you very much, sir, for having us.
Thank you.
He
for
is the
having me.
president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders Association, and today he has been enlightening us on the operations of the association as well as emerging issues in the maritime industry. We've been happy having you here on our show, sir, and we hope you'll have us again next time.
Anytime. Thank you.
very
Thank you.
much. Yes. You can rewatch our show on Facebook and Instagram at Mariport Affairs and on YouTube at Mariport Affairs TV. We'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you for spending your time with us. The name is Nafisa Twade, and you've been watching Mariport Affairs. Thank you for watching.